Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. We have a fascinating stack of sources today. It's this unique blend of, on one hand, construction management reports, and on the other, some really profound personal news.
That's right. We've been following this vlogger who's been documenting a huge farm and house rebuild in the Philippines for years. I mean, every detail.
Every single lumber delivery, every concrete pour.
Yeah. So our mission for you today is, well, it's a complex one. We're going to distill the nuts and bolts of managing a really complex remote construction project. We're talking materials, labor, all of it.
And then we have to pivot because we have to put all of that tactical knowledge against the backdrop of this huge personal decision.
A really surprising announcement about the future of the very channel that's been sharing all these details for, 7 years now?
Okay, let's just unpack this immediately. We'll jump right in. The source material opens right on the construction site in front of this new building they're calling the Big Bodega.
Mm-hmm. But the first thing you hear is not what you'd expect. It's not power tools.
No. It's this small, almost frustrating detail.
It's the squeak of a tape dispenser.
Yeah.
And the vlogger immediately jokes that it needs some budget oil.
Ah, right. And that one little comment, it just perfectly captures the whole reality of the project. It's ambitious, but it's being built one very practical, often improvised step at a time.
That realism is followed instantly by this really critical tactical move. They're putting all their focus on this new bodega.
Which is going to be a guest house eventually, but for now.
So now it's everything, because it's a race against the elements. This bodega is being turned into their temporary living quarters.
The plan is to start the main house remodel pretty dang quick, as he puts it.
But when that happens, they are stripping the house down. I mean, down to its bones.
Which means no ceiling, no roof, for a period of time.
Exactly. And you just cannot do that in a tropical environment without having some other reliable shelter ready to go.
So this wasn't an impulsive thing. They planned this months ago. They knew the main house would be vulnerable, especially during the rainy season. So this temporary room is their safety net.
It is the safety net. And you can see that urgency in the pace of the work. Tata and Jerry have been on this structure for about a month.
And the source notes that Tata has been working continuously since the farm's restaurant opened. They are absolutely maximizing their labor.
They are. They widened the room by about 4 feet. Tata even built the door himself. Super versatile.
But what's really fascinating is how they deal with, the inevitable tool problems on a remote site.
Oh yeah, this is classic. They need to make some cuts, but their main circular saw wasn't available anymore.
So what do? Instead of just stopping and waiting for a new one?
Their worker, Pepe, he rigs something up. He takes a circular saw blade and mounts it on an angle grinder.
Which sounds inventive.
It is. It's a total field improvisation.
Yeah.
And this vlogger says it's working just fine.
See, that's the thing. When you're managing a project like this, far from supply shops, that kind of adaptability in your crew is probably more valuable than the tools themselves.
It really is. It shows the skill and resilience of the local guys. You have to manage through adaptation, not just by buying new stuff.
Totally. So moving from the room itself, they're also installing bathrooms, or CRs, comfort rooms as they call them.
Right, 2 of them. One is, logically for this new temporary living space.
But the second one, that shows some real foresight.
It does. Marcel, his wife, she requested that one specifically for outside use. For employees, for anyone on the farm, so they don't have to track dirt and everything into the living spaces.
It's smart. Small-scale infrastructure planning that just makes the whole operation run smoother.
And they're squeezing value out of every single piece of old equipment. Which brings us to my favorite detail.
The exhaust fan.
The 8-inch restaurant exhaust fan. It had been replaced with a much bigger, more powerful unit, so this old one was just sitting there.
Instead of tossing it, they're giving it a new life.
A new life in the new bathroom. And they've set up this clever little low-tech automation for it.
It's wired directly to the light switch.
Yep. You flip the light on, the fan kicks on automatically.
That's just brilliant. It's sustainable, it's budget-friendly, and it solves a ventilation problem with a simple wiring hack.
It's about maximizing the lifespan of your assets. I love it.
Okay, so that kind of clever reuse shows a real focus on value. Let's shift from the structure to the finishes, because that also says a lot about building for the local environment.
Right, the floor. They're using an epoxy paint in the new room, and the source notes a really key detail about what's in it. The black color in the paint, it's actually sand.
Black sand. Okay, why the sand?
It's purely functional. The sand gives it texture, and that texture is specifically to make the floor no slippery.
Ah, Which makes total sense. With the humidity, rain, people tracking in mud, a smooth epoxy floor would be a hazard. A total hazard. So this is a simple, effective safety feature mixed right into the paint. Marcel actually ordered 2 liters of it online, so they sourced the exact right product for the job. It's that kind of detail that really separates a plan on paper from a practical, livable build.
But no matter how good your materials are, you can't escape the realities of scheduling.
Oh, the windows. They had sliding windows scheduled for delivery.
Delivery time was set for 1:00 p.m. And the vlogger, with this tone of, well, complete resignation.
He translates it. He calls it Filipino time and says it'll probably show up around 3:30 p.m.
And that's such a necessary dose of realism. You can plan everything perfectly, but if you don't build in a buffer for how things actually work on the ground, your whole schedule just falls apart.
So the smart project manager has other tasks for the crew to do between 1 and 3:30.
Exactly. You pivot. You don't just wait.
All right, let's turn now to the biggest material decision for the main house, the roof. This is where that budget-conscious approach suddenly makes way for a huge investment.
A huge one. They are completely abandoning the old corrugated tin roof.
And they're replacing it with something 3 times more expensive.
Enameled steel sheeting. And the source is crystal clear on why. Yes, it's a massive cost up front, but the benefits are durability and aesthetics. It looks way better, it's far stronger, and as he says, the material lasts forever almost.
So let's talk about the math on that. Why spend triple the cost? What's the threat they're trying to mitigate here?
It's a long-term play against the climate. They're avoiding cheaper tin-coated or zinc-coated steel to fight one main enemy, aluminum oxidation.
Rust, basically.
In that environment, with the constant humidity, the salt in the air, cheaper metals just break down. Enameled steel is basically steel-coated and melted glass. It gives you a level of resistance that just blows everything else away.
So you take a big hit on the budget now, but your maintenance and repair budget for the next few decades basically goes to zero.
That's it exactly. It's an investment in stability. And that's the insight, Sometimes the cheapest option is actually the most expensive one in the long run.
And that's just one part of this massive overhaul of the main house. They're basically starting from scratch.
Oh, the scope is immense.
Yeah.
They're finishing the rendering, that's the exterior cement plaster, then new paint, finishing all the ceilings, which are incomplete right now.
And replacing every single window and door. This isn't a repair job. It's a total rebuild to, as he says, sweeten it up.
Right. It sounds like the project is hitting its peak. Maximum effort, materials flooding in, the goal line is finally in sight after years of work.
But this is where the story takes that massive turn, the pivot that I don't think anyone who follows the channel saw coming. And it actually starts with another physical limitation.
It's such a powerful transition from project logistics to personal limits. Before the big announcement, we learn he's made a decision about the upstairs deck. A 99% sure decision.
But they're going to condemn it. Just stop using it.
And it's not because of a structural problem. It's not a budget issue.
No, it's purely physical.
It's his bad knees. He says walking up and down the steps is painful, and he's just not into pain.
So the deck, all the work that went into it, will just be decommissioned. It's a really sobering reminder that sometimes our own bodies override the best architectural plans.
And that acceptance of a physical limit just perfectly sets the stage for the enormous revelation about the entire public side of this project.
Despite all this planning, despite buying the expensive steel for the roof, the vlogger is getting ready to step away after 7 years of sharing his life.
That is the heavy news. He announces he's 99% sure he's going to close the channel down.
7 years of documentation, building the farm, the restaurant, all of it is about to come to an end.
And the reasons he gives are, they're so specific and frankly just really relatable for anyone who's ever had to maintain a public presence online.
It's a convergence of factors, isn't it?
Yeah, primarily it's a lack of time and, just as important, a lack of energy to do it right. But he also talks about being tired of all the negativity that just comes with having a big channel.
It really makes you think about the personal cost of all this documentation. He specifically says he feels guilty.
Guilty about not being able to take care of the channel properly or not being able to answer all the thousands of comments from people.
That guilt is the cost of trying to maintain a professional standard when you've hit your personal physical limits. He felt it was unfair to the subscribers and just too much of a burden on himself.
And the conclusion he came to was the simple one. After 7 years of non-stop work, doing the work, filming the work, engaging with the audience, he says, it's just time. The reward just isn't worth the cost anymore when you're that depleted.
So he's not planning to drag it out. How's he going to say goodbye?
He's keeping it swift and direct. The plan is to just make the announcement during his regular Sunday live stream. Just say goodbye to everyone then.
There's a certain respect in that, a finality.
For sure. And what this means, critically, is that the documentation is ending before the renovation is done.
Right. So no more progress videos on the house or the restaurant.
Exactly. The focus is shifting completely from documenting the build to just finishing the build for themselves. He said there's a small chance of one last video on the temporary home, that bodega we started with. But that's it. The window into the farm is closing.
So what does this all mean when you put these two narratives, the tactical build and the personal exit, side by side?
I mean, we've just analyzed this incredible logistical management, repurposing an old fan, building a shelter to survive the rainy season, dealing with Filipino time, spending 3 times the money on the right material for the roof.
All these complex, forward-looking decisions.
And they were all happening right up to the moment of this profound, backward-looking decision to step away from public life.
It really shows how practicality and personal limits are just constantly intertwined. The budget is critical, whether it's for cheap sand in the floor paint or that super expensive steel for the roof.
But as we've seen, sometimes the cost that really shapes the future isn't in pesos or dollars. It's the personal toll of time, of energy, of negativity. That's the cost that finally became too high after 7 years.
And he made it clear, for every single person who followed along, he offered this huge sense of gratitude and thanks for being part of that community. It was a relationship, and you can tell it meant a great deal, even as it was ending.
That's essential. It reminds you that these projects, they take on a life of their own through the stories we tell about them.
But I want to leave you with this thought to mull over. If all the energy and time that went into chronicling the farm's life, the filming, editing, answering comments, if all of that is now rerouted entirely into the final private work of just building their home, what do you gain? What kind of knowledge or expertise emerges when you sacrifice documentation for the sake of just doing the work itself?
When the work is no longer for the camera, what changes about your focus or your efficiency? That's a fascinating trade-off.
It is a trade-off between chronicling a life and simply living it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.